Imagine the cruelest trick nature ever played in one place and has never been explained by science. Stay with us, because the last 30 seconds of this story will change how you see the animal kingdom forever. The Luangwa Valley in Zambia is not a gentle place. It is ancient. It is indifferent. The earth here is the color of burnt clay, cracked open by a sun that shows no mercy. Fever trees line the riverbanks like pale sentinels, their roots drinking deep from water that carries both life and death in equal measure. This is a land where everything that breathes is either hunting or being hunted. There are no exceptions. Or so the world believed. It was the dry season, that brutal, breathless stretch of months when the Luangwa River shrinks to its bones, and every creature within 50 kilometers is pulled toward its muddy banks like iron to a magnet. Elephants, zebra, impala, and buffalo. Thousands of Cape buffalo moving in a slow, dark tide across the cracked earth, their hooves laying down a thunder that you feel before you hear. And somewhere in the reeds along the southern bank, something that had no business being there was there. A lion cub, no older than 6 weeks, alone. He was wedged between two exposed roots at the water's edge, soaked through, his golden fur plastered flat against a body too small to survive a single night without his mother. His eyes, still that hazy, uncertain blue of the very young, were wide open, scanning a world that had already abandoned him. No pride, no warmth, no sound, except the water and the wind. His mother had not returned. We will never know why. What we do know is this. He cried. Small, broken sounds that carried across the water. Sounds that should have gone unheard. They did not go unheard. The old one arrived at the river in mid-afternoon, dust rising off their backs like smoke. At their front, a massive old cow, broad-shouldered, scarred along her left flank from a leopard encounter 3 seasons past, moving with the slow authority of an animal that has survived everything this valley has thrown at her. Call her what the rangers did, simply the old one. She was first to the water, and she stopped. The cub had gone still at the sound of the hooves, instinct folding him into silence even as his whole body trembled. But the wind was wrong. It carried him directly to her. She raised her massive head, nostrils flaring, and then, against every law of this valley, she walked toward the sound instead of away from it. The herd shifted uneasily behind her. Buffalo do not approach the scent of lion. It is written into their blood as deeply as breathing. Several turned sideways, hooves scraping, ready to bolt, but the old one kept moving, slow, deliberate, her great dark eyes finding the small shape in the reeds. She stood over him for a long time. The cub looked up at a creature 40 times his size and made no sound at all. Perhaps he was too weak for fear. Perhaps something older than fear was operating in that moment, some frequency between living things that has no name in any human language. She lowered her head. She breathed him in, and then she did not leave. When the rest of the herd finally waded in to drink, they gave the reeds a wide berth, but they did not trample, they did not charge. The old one remained on the bank, and the herd moved around her like a river around a stone. By nightfall, the cub had crawled from the roots and pressed himself against her front leg, sharing heat he had no right to expect from an animal whose kind his species has torn open 10,000 times across 10,000 seasons. For 3 days, the rangers watching from across the river kept their cameras rolling and their voices low. The herd grazed, moved, returned to water, and each time the old one stayed close to the edge where the cub slept in the reeds, her bulk between him and the open plain. There is footage, shaky, golden in the late light, of a hyena approaching the bank in the dark. The old one turned. The hyena did not come closer. On the 4th morning, a wildlife rehabilitation team from the Zambian carnivore program crossed the river at first light. The cub was already weakening. He needed milk, warmth, veterinary care that the valley could not provide. As they lifted him from the reeds, the old one stood 20 meters away and watched. She did not charge. She did not flee. She simply watched until the small shape disappeared from her sight.
The cub survived. He was named simply by the rangers, Mutu, the Swahili word for river. He was raised in the program's facility, healthy and loud and impossible to ignore, and released into a protected reserve at 18 months. And the old one? She was photographed again 2 seasons later, leading her herd, still scarred, still walking at the front. There is a version of this world where that cub's cries vanished into the reeds and no one answered, where the only law was the law of predator and prey, clean and cold and final. But that is not what happened. What happened is that an old buffalo cow stood between a helpless thing and everything that wanted to end it, and held that ground for 3 days for no reason that biology can fully account for. The river took nothing that week. Justice, it turns out, does not always wear the face we expect. If this story moved you the way it moved us, hit that like button and subscribe. Every week we bring you the moments from the wild that remind you why this planet is worth protecting. Don't miss the next one.